Hello everybody that's coming in. Welcome. This is another impromptu hangout. See if anybody wants to hang out and talk a little bit this afternoon. Especially with the TikTok ban looming above us and all these things. People are coming and going so fast. Hey, thanks for the likes. Thanks for starting us out on a good foot. Appreciate that very much. Tulip. Hey, will you just be moving? Will you just be moving to YouTube? We're trying to figure out where to go. There is, in my opinion, there's nothing like TikTok. So I'm actually hopeful that the TikTok ban isn't going to happen quite like people think it is going to. And so I'm hopeful that we can stay here because I don't think there really is anybody doing anything close to this. We keep looking at new platforms. We looked at BlueSky, we looked at Lemonade, we looked at various other platforms, and nothing's close. And I think that's part of the reason why TikTok was targeted, because it's got a unique thing and it's not conducive to American business interests. And so, yeah, but I'm hopeful. I'm actually personally hopeful that we can stay here, but we are trying to find a place to go. Part of what I was liking to do here is to find out where people think we should go. Quite a bit like BlueSky, but not really like this. Yeah, BlueSky is basically Twitter. It's Twitter, basically. You know, it's text-based, not video-based, and while you can post or while you can attach a video, it's a 60-second video limit, and again, it doesn't put the video in front of somebody's face right away. It puts text in front of their face, and then if they aren't interested in whatever teaser you have of your video or your text, then they don't click on the video. It's a completely different platform, and the monetization is completely different, not really conducive for people probably that want to make a living or make a side scratch, if you will, on TikTok. I don't see their model being as good. So I don't think it's the best place, but we are there. We are on BlueSky. I signed up for Devil's Advocates yesterday, kind of started watching how that works, and I'm not yet seeing anything that excites me about BlueSky. It's not an alternative to TikTok. It's just one of those other platforms. Our following is so small that I don't know how many people are going to look to find out where Devil's Advocates went. So it's more like Devil's Advocates are going to have to go where everybody else went, right? So we're certainly not going to be leading the way as far as where people are going, but we're trying to pay attention to where people end up. I would have thought that somebody would have come up with a competitor app that was so similar that it was obvious where everybody should go, but they haven't done so yet. But again, I want to remind those who, like myself sometimes, who are seeing the writing on the wall with the Supreme Court seemingly to not understand the issue and being supporting this idea. Yeah, let's hope BlueSky, by the way, figures out how to develop something closer to what people want on TikTok, but I don't know that they're going that direction. But anyways, one thing to keep in mind is there's a lot to happen with the TikTok ban. So first of all, when the ban goes into effect, nothing's to say that the government is going to immediately move on it the very next day or that day, right? So the law could pass and they could not enforce it, and they might not enforce it for a while. The Supreme Court might delay making a decision. They might not make an announcement on Monday. They might take a while, and therefore it'll be delayed and leaving all of us in suspense, which is one of the worst things that can happen. Bonjour, Stella. One of the worst things that can happen is leaving everybody in suspense, right? Because the feeling I get from the TikTokers and stuff that I'm following is that people want to know where to go. They want to know if this is the end of TikTok, then just frickin' tell us so that we can find another place to go. But this whole wishy-washy, we're not sure, we're still going to tell you, we haven't decided, we haven't ruled on it, so we're all sitting there waiting around for the answer. And even when the answer comes, we don't know if they're going to enforce the law. So the law could go into effect and there could effectively be no enforcement of it. Or there could be little enforcement. Or if they just delay enforcing it for one day and Trump gets into office, he could try to do something to postpone it, delay it, resubmit it to Congress, whatever the case may be. There's a million things that can happen. In the meantime, the community is all freaked out, right, about what are we going to do when you destroy this app? And we don't know if they're going to. But in a way, they're destroying the app because already everybody's flocking away from it. You know, not necessarily away, but everybody's signing up for all these other platforms in anticipation that TikTok's going away. So they're already, in my opinion, really probably digging into TikTok's business right now because they've got everybody in a panic. And yeah, it's a sad thing that in America we live in a country that supposedly upholds people's freedom of speech, and yet we're all realizing that we're not free to have conversations about the things that we want to have conversations with because they want to move to platforms where you simply just don't get to have these kind of conversations. There's no other platform where I can jump on a microphone on a video like this in the afternoon anytime I want to and share my thoughts with people. There isn't. These other places where you have text-based whatever, people aren't gonna sign in as much. They're not gonna click on that as much. They're not gonna be interested in a teaser text. They're not gonna take time out of what they're doing to do that. It's just not the same kind of format. This is a unique platform, and it's a sad thing that they're being attacked. Hello. So, a VPN decision will work, you think? I don't know that the VPN's going to get around it. Again, they're gonna probably turn off. They could turn off ByteDance's IP address range in the U.S. But so yes, if you have a VPN, you can probably say that you are from another country and get to it that way. But again, the levels that they're going to make people try to go to circumnavigate the thing is going to create nothing but more distrust and hatred towards the government by Americans. This is not endearing Americans to them. They're honestly pitching it like they think Americans want us to keep us safe from TikTok, and nobody wants that. So, in the famous words of somebody that we talk about from time to time on this channel, they're completely out of touch with America's lived experience, and it's an insult to the American intelligence to think that we all want them to ban TikTok. That's not at all what anybody wants. But they literally think we're so stupid that somehow we're going to buy that they're just protecting us and protecting national security, and it's not that at all. I'm 100% convinced of that. TikTok uses SIM cards info to recommend regional videos for For You page. Interesting. There was a clip I saw. Oh, I don't even know if it's true, so I shouldn't repeat it. There was a clip I saw about some guy grilling TikTok about using facial recognition, and the guy was like, we don't use facial recognition. And he's like, well, yeah, you do, and and he's like, we only want to use AI, for example, to tell where your eyes are, so that when somebody buys sunglasses, they stick sunglasses on you, and well, that's awfully creepy. You want to know where their eyes are at? And I'm like, oh, fuck off. Everyone uses this technology, acting like somehow they're doing some clandestine thing because they're using technology that everybody uses. It's insulting. Their attitude, completely out of touch. Completely out of touch. Yeah, and it's all about money, which is bothering me a lot when we have wealthy United States businessmen that are all like, I'll buy TikTok. Fuck, again, F off. You're doing it because you think it's going to make you money. You're not doing it to protect Americans' free speech. You're not doing it to protect Americans' data. You're doing it because you think you can capitalize on a sinking ship and you can take over and make tons and tons of money on something that's been built for you that you didn't have to put any effort into, but other than throwing your fat cash at it because you've got fat cash. You aren't going to do anything. You're not the brains of anything. You just got money. So you'll throw money at it, and then you'll be like, oh, I'm making so much money by something I financed with money. And I don't have 2 cents of a brain to do anything, but I'll hire programmers because I got money. Anyways, rant. So anyways, we'll see where things go, but I was curious if anybody knows where to go. I mean, the latest thing all over my TikTok page today was Neptune, right? And Neptune's not even built. It's a website. It's a concept that hasn't been built. And frankly, I'm not a fan of the quote unquote CEOs and representatives who are all over TikTok telling us that they're the next big thing. I'm not impressed. It's a product that doesn't even exist. Clapper. I think we looked into Clapper. I'm going to have to look into Clapper. That name has come up before too, so I'll check that out. My buddy was talking about. I know. See, there should be a lot. Maybe I have looked at Clapper. I'll take a look at it again. Is it U.S. owned? Because the problem with Lemon8, which is a complete TikTok ripoff, right, is made by ByteDance. It's the same company. I think it even uses the same algorithm. So I don't think Lemon8 is the answer, because TikTok, if ByteDance gets banned, essentially, so will Lemon8. So is Clapper a U.S.? And it's weird, like, I know I've heard Clapper before, but it's weird that, like, when I must have watched 20 videos today from people talking about, where are we going to go next? And it's been all Neptune, which I even hate repeating, because, again, I don't know what they've done for marketing, but they are all over the place for a product that doesn't even exist yet. They're all over my TikTok page as everybody's going to that other place, right? And I'm like, you don't even have a product. So yeah, I'll look into Clapper. That'll be interesting. Yeah, TikTok. TikTok's one of those things, as with anything, people need to balance their work life, social life kind of thing. Like, I know that when I'm going to bed, I used to like just kind of scrolling TikTok a little bit and getting a tidbit of the day, or a funny thing for the day, or a humorous, whatever, or maybe a take. But the point being is that I enjoyed scrolling it when I have 15 minutes here or 20 minutes there or whatever. But more importantly, it's a platform where I've been able to share some of my opinions that frankly I've never been able to do before. Like, I blog all the time. I'm a prolific writer, and I can't get people to read my stuff. And I don't think it's necessarily because I'm a bad writer. It's just that it's hard to put your thing out there in front of people, to even let them know you're there, to find your audience and connect with them. But on here, I can put out a video, and all of a sudden, 200 or 300 people resonate with me, and they're following me. And then all of a sudden it's, 1,000, and then all of a sudden it's 4,000, and it just grows organically. And I've seen no other platform that comes close to that. So we'll see. I mean, again, I'm not sure what's going to be the new thing. There was another one that I heard about. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to badmouth Clapper if it's not that one, but there was something that somebody told me to go to, and when I installed it, I was like, oh my God, it's TikTok. It's the same thing. The icons on the side were the same. The making your videos were the same, but it was full of, and it's difficult because I believe in free speech, but it was full of fist fights and people getting their arms broken and animal abuse, and it was like the wild, wild west, right? So there's this dichotomy of, I want free speech, but I also don't want to see somebody get their arm broken. I don't want to see violence for just violence sake, where people are filming and laughing and clapping because someone got into a fist fight and beat the hell out of somebody on camera. I don't want to watch that. But I want free speech. So where do you draw the line? I don't want to watch somebody beat a dog on camera, or a dog eat a cat, live on TV, and people think there's a portion of people who think that's funny. Look at this dog kill this cat. It's hilarious. And I'm just like, I don't want to watch that. Now, fortunately for me, TikTok has been pretty good at censoring that kind of stuff. If even something starts remotely like that, you usually get a warning that what you're seeing may be graphic in nature and whatever, and you have the option to be like, if it starts out with two animals facing each other and I get a warning it's going to be graphic, I'm probably not watching. Like, I can scroll. But this other place where I went, it was freaking wild, wild west, man. It was nudity, violence, whatever, and I'm not against those things per se, but like, I want to be able to filter very quickly the things that I want to see and not see. And it's funny because there's a catch-22. Like, for example, with the Luigi Mangione situation and the Brian Thompson situation, I wanted to see the actual footage, not the mainstream media. We're going to freeze the picture right when the gunman lifts his gun because what you're about to see is too disturbing for you to watch, and so you don't get to see it. I wanted to see the actual video, and I had to go somewhere else to see the actual video. So there's times when I want to see what somebody might consider graphic material because I want to see it with my own eyes and make a judgment for myself. But I don't necessarily want to see somebody beat somebody down in a 7-Eleven because it's a gang jump in or something like that. I don't want to see that. I don't give a rip about that. So I want to be selective with what I see. And that's really hard when you're like, okay, I'm okay with violence in some extremes because I want to be able to see what actually happened with my own two eyes. I want to determine whether or not that was really excessive violence or not. And the only way to know is to see it with my own eyes to make that judgment, and rather than you telling me what you had to hide me from because it was too dangerous or too disturbing for me to view. I want to make that decision myself. So there's the difficulty I have. We need to find an app, we got to hope that TikTok stays around because TikTok is doing it pretty well, in my opinion. They're doing it pretty well. Because I don't see a lot of crap I don't want to see on TikTok. And if I see a content provider that likes to put animals attacking animals videos, I can block that account and then I don't see it anymore, which is amazing. I talked about that on a recent video about how they're treating Americans like we're just children, protecting us for our own good. So the news media, guarantee have seen all these videos, all these violent footage. They've seen them unedited, and it's okay because they're adults. But you're children, so they're going to be like, we're not going to show you. We'll tell you what happened, but we're not going to show you because you're an infantile child that needs to be protected. And so let us adults tell you what happened, and it's good enough. It's good enough that we saw it. We'll tell you what happened. You don't need to see it for yourself. And that would be if anybody actually trusted the media. But I don't know that most, but a lot of us don't trust the media. A lot of us lost trust in the media a long time ago. Yeah, and the whole Twitter/X thing, again, there's such a fine line between allowing people to express their opinions freely without censorship and then hate speech, right? Because in reality, a lot of people have very hateful things that they think about other people. And they hate people because of race, religion, political positions, and they hate them simply because of those things. And a lot of us don't want to see that either. A lot of us don't want to see intolerance for the sake of being intolerant. I don't like the color of your skin. I don't like your gender. I don't like your look. So I'm going to hate you for no effing reason other than you in my mind represent a system I don't like or a type of thing I don't like or whatever the case may be. And so how do you allow someone to have free speech to say whatever they want? Because this is one of the things. Like, I don't mind it that if my neighbor next door, for example, is a racist, bigot, whatever, he has the right to do that. He has the right to be a racist. I also have the right to not be friends with them. I cannot like the grumpy old man next door that calls out racial slurs when people walk by his thing. But he has the right to do that. It's his opinion. And as long as he's not hurting anyone, then he has that thing. And I can just choose not to be that guy's friend, right? But that's the hard thing about social media is that guy can jump on here and then say a bunch of spewed shit, and then we have to ask ourselves the question, is it okay for him to foment violence, to express his negative opinions? Where do you draw the line when it's okay for one guy to do it but not okay for another guy? And usually it will fall into, well, I like that guy's opinion, so let that guy talk. But I don't like this guy's opinion, so don't let that guy talk. Which is what's happened with all of these platforms that are basically deciding to lean one way or another on an issue and then decide which side you're going to hear, and that's it. So I wish that we could come up with something. I think, like I said, I do think that we're going to have a chance to keep TikTok. I think that even if the TikTok ban goes into effect on the 19th, it's not going to go away overnight. I suspect they're going to drag their heels a little bit on immediately shutting down the servers and pulling it off of TikTok and uninstalling it from people's phones using Play Protect and all those things. I don't think they're going to go to that extreme. So the law will go into effect, and then we'll all go, well, it's still here, so I guess we keep using it. The worst part about that is that leaves everybody unsure. How much time an effort do I want to invest building my brand, getting a following, resonating with my friends, making friendships online, to have it all go away someday when they just say, okay, today's the day we've shut off the servers? Like, we want to know. We want to know what's going to happen. We don't want to continue to spend time investing in something that they're going to shut down. And so it's hard. And for me personally, this has been a really rewarding experience. I've got a small following on here, but what I have found is I have some of the same people showing up to my lives every time I do my lives, and I'm having people talk to me privately in one-on-one, and I'm making friends. I'm making what I consider real connections with real human beings, something that I've strived for a long time, making connections with human beings. And again, this platform is unique in doing that. I'm actually getting to talk about some things that I can't talk about at work because it's not acceptable. We're not allowed to talk about these things at work. It doesn't belong in the workplace. You know, where I work, it would not be appropriate to talk about United Healthcare or the Luigi Mangione situation or the P. Diddy situation. That's not appropriate for work. So you're told this is not the place to talk. So where is it though okay to talk? I can't go home and talk to anybody because I got nobody that I know that lives around me that we can talk about. But TikTok, I can jump on here and I can have a conversation and I can meet a couple thousand people that are like, hey, I agree with you. Let's talk about these things. Anyways, I'm rambling. Thanks again for the 2,000 likes we got going. I really appreciate that. Again, I'm just doing this impromptu, bored on a Sunday afternoon, a little apprehensive about the Looming ban. I'm hoping that somebody will tell me where we're going to go. Clapper may be it. You know, who knows? That was a recommendation here. I'll make sure to look at that again. You know, I don't know. If I was I'll tell you what I would do if I was a money guy. Here's the thing. Here's where I'm at. I'll tell you this. I have lost the lie of America a long time ago. In a heartbeat, if I thought I could, I would leave the country. I would set up in a place that is protected outside of government reach, and I would create a platform where free speech is actually believed in. And I would try to do the thing, but I don't have the technology to do it. I don't have the money to do it, but there's nothing that ties me here. I would go and I would set up shop in a country where it allowed me to have free speech and be that platform. But again, I'm speaking out my ass because I don't have the ability or the money to do so. But I totally think somebody has to do it. I feel like almost whoever is going to, if there's going to be a replacement, it has to be out the U.S. It seems like it almost has to be outside of the U.S. The U.S. is simply controlled by business. By our business partners. They just banned social media under 16 in Australia, so we're going to need ID for everyone. Yeah, the whole age thing on social media thing also is another tricky area, because even China apparently, you know, restricts TikTok for under a certain age. I think it's 16 or something like that. And again, where do you draw the line? Do you have a different version of the app that's just for young? I don't know. These are all super difficult questions, and I don't have the answers for them for sure. But we are trying to get, my buddy and I right now are leaning towards YouTube as a platform that might be good for us, because I'm a bit of a talker, as you've seen. Long form format of videos might be more my wheelhouse anyways. Then we could go also on YouTube to a widescreen format instead of a vertical portrait thing. But again, I want to be clear. I don't want to leave TikTok. I would rather stay on TikTok. I'd rather be on TikTok and YouTube, not just YouTube or not just something else. I'd rather stay at TikTok. And it is making me increasingly angry that my own government wants to force me off of TikTok because of their financial interests. That's pissing me off. And the whole, anonymity and stuff like that, that's a whole nother ball of wax. The whole right to privacy, it's a whole nother ball of wax. All of it kind of ties into things. I mean, in a surveillance state in which we live, they want total information awareness. They want to have absolutely everything, that there's nothing you can do that they don't know about. And then the answer for you is just don't do anything that you can get in trouble for, and you're fine. Obey the rules and do what we tell you, and you're fine. You shouldn't have a problem with surveillance. If you're not doing anything wrong, then there's nothing to be worried about. I got nothing to hide, so put a camera in my bathroom. I'm not doing anything illegal, so I guess watch me take a shower, because I'm not doing anything wrong. So if you're not ashamed of it, just put cameras all over my house. Watch me do everything. It's kind of their attitude. It's like, well, if you're not ashamed, then you shouldn't be worried about being surveilled. Well, maybe I like to have privacy from time to time, but that's getting less and less acceptable. Do I read Whitney Webb? I do not. I'm not familiar with Whitney Webb. What's the title of a book? Or people with internet connections to their fridge and those Amazon cameras inside the house. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm a technology user. I've got Echo devices or Alexa devices. I got Amazon listening devices all over my house, which is funny that I would even do so, because I'm a big privacy buff. And I realize that that's a major invasion of privacy. Even having a Roomba, even a Roomba in the United States is an invasion of privacy. What they've been doing with Roombas is they've been using the cameras on Roombas to take pictures of people in their home. At first, it started out with this revelation. Roomba, when you map your house for sweeping your floor with your little robot, is also mapping your house for law enforcement and fire department. With the idea being is that if you call 911 and your house is full of smoke, they don't have to go try to find the blueprints of your house, your make and your model to find out where the bedrooms are. They can pull up a quick access to Roomba and they have the full layout of your house and they know exactly where you are. So they're going to help you, because as your house is all smoky and on fire, they'll know where the baby's room is at and they can come in and get to you quickly. But what they didn't do is they didn't tell people who own a Roomba that they're mapping their house and they're sending the map data to law enforcement, to whatever, so that they know exactly the layout of your house and where everything is at in your house. Or they take pictures of people. They had a Roomba that took a picture. This is a famous case. Woman was in the bathroom with her child, getting him undressed for the bath, and the Roomba came in and took a picture of it, and it was on their servers. Well, some would say that's probably a major violation of somebody's privacy if you're taking pictures and uploading it to your server. So we're in a weird, technology is outpacing us, and we're trying to figure out where we would draw the line. Yeah, I forgot what the project is, but there's a project that's designed for the fact that everyone in America has cell phone cameras. And I forgot what the project's name was. But the idea is that law enforcement in the United States, wants to be able to, anytime there's an event going on. So let's say you're hanging out in Vegas and a mass shooting happens in Vegas. They want to be able to immediately turn on everyone's cameras and microphones and videos to help pinpoint where the shooter's at. And they want to do that without your permission or your acknowledgement. They just want to be able to access because they got cameras everywhere, right? And so there's software designed to basically activate everybody's cameras, everybody's microphones, everybody's whatever, to help them locate who they're looking for quickly and effectively. But again, the American people don't sign up for that. They don't know that it's happening. Their phone just becomes a mass surveillance device for the law enforcement, in which backdoor, the law enforcement has the ability to turn on your camera and your phone and whatever, your microphone, and pick up data they need to find out where the bad guy's at. And you are unwittingly helping them find people, whether you want to or not, because in an emergency, in a crisis, they want to have all hands on decks. They got gigantic walls of TVs. They got people's phones displayed everywhere. They got a million eyes on the prize, and they can see everything. And they'd be like, okay, shut this camera, this camera, this camera. This is what we want to watch, focus on. That's what they're moving towards if they don't already have it. I was aware of those discussions 8 years ago, I think. And like I said, I'm a super privacy buff. I don't even let people touch my phone. Hey, can I borrow your phone? Man, no. Like, my life's too interesting for you to touch my phone and not let me see what you're doing on my phone. Like, I don't give anybody my phone. But what I have found is it seems like nobody has the answer, right? What's going to happen? Nobody knows yet. So I don't think the old cameras and old phones are going to work. And here's the problem too. Like, I see more and more TikTok users who are doing this whole thing. Hey guys, the answer is let's just stop using social media. Having us all stop talking to each other and using the only platform we have to be able to talk to each other and realize that we're all in the same boat and that we're all pissed off at the authoritative pressure of overhead isn't to stop talking to each other and go dark. The answer isn't, oh, we're going to really hurt their pocketbook. We'll just stop using social media altogether. And we'll be all in the dark and we'll all have no clue that anybody else feels strongly about it because nobody's talking to anybody anymore. So I don't think, for me, the answer isn't, let's just stop using social media. Because that's what they essentially want. They don't want people communicating. They don't want people sharing ideas freely. They don't want people comparing notes and going, man, maybe our country isn't better than others, or maybe we're less free than other countries. They don't want you talking about those things and comparing notes. Hey, how's it working in your country? Do you have to do this? Do you have to register? Do you have to have, a license to fish? Do you have to have, start comparing notes? Well, no, we just go out and fish. Like, what do you mean you have to have a special license and approval from the government to fish or hunt or whatever? Well, yeah, we have to do that here. Well, I thought you guys were free. Well, we are free if we pay for our license. Oh. So, I feel like I'm off on a lot of stuff that probably doesn't directly relate to Devil's Advocate's channel, but it's mostly about TikTok and how I feel about the ban and stuff like that. So, somebody's going to do it, right? Somebody's going to build an app. I can't believe that nobody has done it yet, or that maybe they have and we just don't know about it, because it feels like ripping off TikTok's idea isn't terribly difficult. What might be difficult is their algorithm, which seems to work very effectively. They've got some shit figured out, and the arrogancy of people like the Shark Tank guy who's doing the whole, hey, I don't want their algorithm. I'll buy TikTok. I don't want their algorithm. I'm like, you're arrogant SOB, because their algorithm is what you really want to pay for. It's not the freaking delivery app. It's how they're getting things promoted. And you acting like you don't want their algorithm because it's not important to you. It is. That is what makes TikTok TikTok, is the algorithm. So the stupidity of saying, well, I don't even want their algorithm. I just want their app. You're a moron, in my opinion. What they really are trying to say, I think, in my opinion, when they say we don't want your algorithm, is we want to write a new algorithm that allows people to talk only about the things that we consider that we want them to talk about. So, as a perfect example, we're in a gray area with, I talk a lot about Luigi Mangione. We're in a gray area with Luigi Mangione. We can talk about it here as long as we don't glorify violence. But if the United States government or a business owned by the United States government takes over, they may decide that that's anti-American. You talking about the America fucking over the population and wealth inequality and how that the government wants to keep people down, that's anti-American. You're speaking against America. So therefore, even though supposedly we have the right to criticize our own government, we're just going to have an algorithm that doesn't put reach on anybody that criticizes American government or American business. And if I were an American company in bed with the United States government, as much of the big companies are, I would want to make sure my algorithm doesn't hurt my business partners and my government partners. So it's a sad, sad state that we're facing. Uh-oh, did I accidentally click on somebody to add somebody? I didn't even mean to add somebody. I was just scrolling. Hey, Review.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm just jumping in. I wasn't really here for long, so I really don't know what you're talking about. But oops, sorry. My two phones are going off. I heard you talking about algorithms, and
Yeah.
I thought maybe I could give you some tips um, on changing that. So you have to remember that TikTok is AI and it's a learning AI model. So we teach it by what
Right.
we do. We teach it our preferences. But with SEO and different things you can do, you can actually trick that. And that's how I'm able to have so many videos that don't get taken down. In my SEO, I specifically write what I want or who the video should be showed for. So I don't know if people know how to use SEO, but what I do is when I'm creating a video, literally on my screen, I write who this is video for. This video
Yeah.
is for. So I'm like, this video is for people who are looking for information about, whatever. Or I tell it that that Luigi is good and that he's innocent. So I tell it the opposite of what most people are saying in videos, because every time we click on a video that is negative about him or whatever, if we don't leave a comment that's positive to counter it, it just says that he's negative, right? So I write that and I reduce it really, really tiny. I shrink it really, really tiny, and I move it slightly off my screen. You can't even see it, but the
Right.
AI reads it. So, and I also mentioned all my little things on my SEO that I love TikTok and TikTok is good. So, and it works for me, especially with my appeals. Even I tell it, or
Yeah.
I'll put in there because a lot of people like to report, that it's a violent video. So I'll put in my description in my SEO, this is not a violent video. This is a video about comparing blah blah blah. So I mean, I give a whole story in my SEO. It's like I almost give like a description of what it is,
Yeah.
and I think it really helps. So.
That's a clever
We've got to
idea.
start doing that.
Yeah. That's a clever idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we have to also start just putting out the message again of what it is that we believe and not what other people believe. If you believe, he's innocent, if you believe, I mean, they try to take away the human characteristics of him by
Right.
taking down his Facebook, by taking down everything. And so you have to change it to whatever you believe your perspective is. Now, my perspective, from my videos is just a case of misidentification. We don't know who it is. We don't know who we're seeing because the videos are so poor. So whatever your messaging is or whatever, I mean, I'm not trying to say, oh, he's innocent or he's guilty. I'm saying, who is this? We don't know. So anyways, that's my contribution.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I will say that, I watched a special a couple years ago on Netflix or something like that about the social media thing and how Facebook was accused of making people hate each other. And one of the things that was said was much like what you just said, is they said, look, the algorithm is only feeding back to you what you want to see. So if you spend a lot of time on negative stuff, getting pissed off because somebody said something, and you watch that video over and over again and it pisses you off, you're going to get more of that thing that pisses you off because you're training it that's where you spend your time. And all it's doing is feeding you where you spend your time. So, like they were saying, it's like there was no plan to foment anger and hatred. It was that you trained yourselves that's where you want to spend your time, is the things that piss you off and make you angry and make you want to fight and whatever. And so it was kind of like, I was like, in a lot of ways that's true, because in a lot of ways the things you spend time on aren't necessarily the things you're really interested in. It's more the things that got I can't believe that guy just said that, and you sit there and watch him say it over and over, and you're like, I should stop spending all this time watching a guy talk about something I don't believe in, because all I'm doing is telling the algorithm that's what I want more of.
Right. And you have to remember too that everything that we say and do on these things is a certain type of messaging. And there are some people who also, stick their toe into messaging that is subliminal, and, or they write things, to persuade people to think a certain way. It's almost like, washing of the brain, right? And so I said that backwards on purpose, but so you have to remember that even within images, I think I've showed you with how I do overlays and remove things, I can hide an image behind an image and slightly show it to the point where your brain sees it, but your eye just doesn't. And so that's also messaging that happens in a lot of the things that we see that we're not even aware that we're seeing it.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. There's another thing though that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's because I'm small fish compared to other people, but everybody keeps telling me, you can't say certain words, and so I got really annoyed personally when I got in this whole all these people to make an effort to say pew pew instead of shooting, or you can't say Luigi Mangione, you got to say LM and whatever. And I'm like, since I've been on here, I've been saying LM. I've been saying Luigi Mangione. I've been saying shooting. I've been talking about it, and I have never been flagged or banned for those things, not once. And everybody keeps telling me, you can't say those things. I'm like, I'm saying it all the time. Now, maybe it's only because I'm sitting so small followership, and maybe if I got bigger, I'd get banned more. But I feel like if you're saying it appropriately and you're making it clear, you're not sensationalizing violence and you're not promoting those kind of things, you can even say some of the words, right? Because again, even if you get flagged, somebody's going to human review it, and hopefully they'll be like, oh, that's not what it was. I don't know, but I've been lucky, I guess, because I'm not avoiding saying certain words, and I've not had. That's not what I've gotten my flags for. I've gotten flags for things completely different than talking about Luigi, for example. But,
Right. No, I agree with you, and that goes back to, I used to participate in a lot of debates that were, during the election time. They're like, oh, don't say this word or that word. I don't think it's really us saying it. I think it's that there's in your audience people that are reporting you for misinformation or this or that or the other thing, and so you have to be really, careful in what you say. In that, if you're going to make a statement that it's factual and it's not based upon, hearsay or whatnot. I always ask people to bring receipts. And it was really interesting because I was in someone, I don't remember her name, something character. I don't remember the person's name, but yes, I was on her live. Yeah, and there was someone making statements and I asked for receipts. I said, you know what? If you're going to say that, then I expect you to post a link that is a credible source and bring receipts to your statement. I said, otherwise, I'm going to respectfully ask you to, to retract that statement. And I said, do you have a link or whatever to back it up? And character analysis jumped on my back. Oh, don't go down that way. You're being aggressive. No, I'm not being aggressive. I'm being assertive. I'm not being aggressive, but I'm asking for someone to post truthful, honest information. And if you make a statement, you need to clearly say, this is my opinion. But you're stating it's fact. So where's your receipt? And so when I started asking targeted questions like that, she ended her life.
Yeah.
So whatever.
And I try to be very, very careful of saying and making it clear when I'm giving an opinion about something. The bad part is that I have a huge timeline that I built in which I have cited sources, the actual ABC, NBC, CNN, all the mainstream media sources that stated those things. So when I say, for example, Brian Thompson was under investigation by the Department of Justice, if somebody were to say, well, where's your receipts? I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I can say, if you look at my timeline, everything is sourced. Every single thing is linked. You can see, it's not even hard to find. Like Google search it. You'll find it all over the place. It's there, right?
Right.
But I try to make it clear when I'm giving an opinion. Like, for example, when I'm saying that I have reason to believe that there was conspirators involved with it, I'll say that's an opinion. I can't prove that. So don't go saying I'm telling everybody it's a conspiracy thing. I'm just saying I think there's evidence for that. But I try to make it clear that's an opinion, and it's based on these facts that I have sourced. You can go see where I'm jumping to those conclusions from. So I try to do a little bit of both,
Right. So, but it's interesting. I went to, I was starting today. I decided to go back to day one and start, from what I remember from my memory in what, then you start to get other information that maybe clouds your memory. You start to forget details and so forth. And so I went back to day one. And so I went to the Citizen app, by the way, which has every audio recording from, that day of 911 calls and so forth. And so it gives a timeline of everything. And so I screen recorded it in case it disappears. But, and maybe, this is because you like to do stories. I gather information and I'll just hand it to you. but it's a really interesting story if you go read it because of it was someone in a tan coat, and they described somebody different and they described the weapon as a veterinarian thing. And so you see, I'm so conditioned not to say that word. I'm having a hard time even saying it. But so they said it was a veterinarian, pistol or whatever. And so and it was really interesting, but it got me to thinking that, Citizens app is a live reporting app. And, I live in, in major cities. I mean, I live in New York sometimes, New York City. I live in Chicago sometimes. I live in California. And so, but I have the Citizen app, set for every one of those major cities for when I'm in there. I used to spend a lot of time in San Francisco because one of the offices I worked in was, in downtown San Francisco. But all of my app, I get alerts for those things. When there is an alert, there are citizens. That's why it's called Citizens app, who come on with a live camera and they're posting videos, because especially in major cities, everybody's on these apps. And so what I noticed is that there was not one person, there's like 27,000 comments, and there's not one other person who posted a live video from that day.
Wow.
I mean, have you found any on social media? Anyone who posted a scene from that
No.
video or that
No,
situation?
not that I've seen. I just seen the CCTV camera footage.
So it's just, yeah. So I mean, so I just think I think that's strange. I mean,
It is.
if you're familiar with Citizen app, if you're not, go. You don't have to subscribe to it. And that footage, interesting enough, they still have open that you don't have to subscribe, because some of the older footage you have to subscribe to see it. But I put in the address, which I'm happy to send you, which was on the
Yeah, please
Citizen app,
do.
and you can find it and read everything. But it's just, so I'm going back to day one, and I'm just like picking up things that maybe I forgot about or that I missed or that whatever. And I'm also reading that Substack article link that I sent you.
Yes. Oh my
Yes,
God.
isn't that, and what a wealth of information.
It is
So, and he
incredible.
wrote some other articles too that are incredible. That same author or journalist, I'm not sure what his title is, but which is really good information. But I'm just going backwards now, because now with everything I know, I'm just like putting the pieces together, because there's still the one element that I'm just so curious about, and that is the angle of Dane. And so, that, yes, I know, right?
I
I
know.
don't
I
use.
know. I'm knee jerking on that one. That's okay.
Yeah, and so you're knee jerking. Did you read everything I posted from Quora
No, I
last
probably have
night?
not. No, no, not from last night. No.
It's like a confessional. You didn't read it about the Thailand, the comment that he made on Thailand?
No, no.
Oh
So
my
I apologize. First of
gosh.
all, I'm getting flooded with stuff from people, and I'm still currently working full time. And of course, I have a wife and I have social things. So it's hard for me to keep up. I am getting to a point where I'm going to be retiring in a couple of weeks, and so I'm going to have more time.
Mhm.
But right now, I'm having a hard time keeping up with everything.
Okay, well, they're quick videos. Go read the Quora posts,
But
okay? Because there are certain things that were posted by him that specifically say the name Luigi.
so I want to
That's
say
specific.
something about the that gentleman you spoke about that I'm now afraid to say his name.
Right.
I want to say something interesting about that. When I first posted that video, which I actually feel bad about, the first video I posted about that individual, I feel bad the way I presented it. I wasn't meaning it the way it was taken, and so now I feel bad the way that it came across. But having said that, when I made that post, it was just hey, there are other people out there who we don't know their story that are missing, and we don't know that it couldn't be something like that. And at the time I did that, I had zero reason to believe there was a connection between that individual and Luigi. I have now found I could not even believe that they were actually in the same state at the same time. Not only that, but potentially in the same city at the same time. And I'm like, when I wrote that, when I made that, I was like, this is just random. They have no real connection. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I didn't even think you could put both of them in the same place at the same time. And you can. So that I'm like,
Santa Clara University,
it
yeah,
doesn't mean
is,
anything. But it's like, I didn't even think you
well,
could do that.
I'm just saying that Santa Clara University, and I'm going to call him David. So just so I have a name. So quote unquote David, which is not
Yeah.
his real name, but David went to school at Santa Clara Community College, which is 13 miles from Stanford. I used to live in Santa Clara. I know exactly how long it would take to get there and so forth. At that time, when Luigi was there at Santa Clara at Stanford,
Yeah.
he was running like the summer camps, teaching courses, but he was also academic advisor for any potential incoming students who were transferring, looking to go to college. and or upcoming, students, so students in high school. At that time, David's father, we'll call him Brian, he was posting on Quora about his son and his desire for his son to go to Stanford in 2018 at that time. So he was then, what is his name? David was at that time, a sophomore in college and looking to transfer as a junior and trying to get into different colleges. And his father actually wrote, things that his original desire was actually to go into computer science and game design. Okay. Right. And then he ended up going into chemical engineering. I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me that here we have two young men with similar interests. Their father's posting online. They're both, one's a vegan, but not a strict vegan is my understanding now, but a vegan. And, Luigi's a vegetarian. And David worked at a restaurant called Native Foods, which was not far from Stanford. I'm sorry. I mean, there's just too many coincidences are not coincidences when there's that many coincidences.
I agree with you. And what is bothering me is every time I mention that I got in trouble for mentioning that person's name and the family got upset, I get shamed by half a dozen people in my thing. You should be ashamed. That family has every right to be pissed off. And I'm like, hold on a second. He's a public figure. An entire special has been written about, published on him. He's not just nobody. And I wasn't like, and yet I have people attacking me. You should be ashamed of yourself for even bringing him up. And I'm like, so where do we draw the line? Because like Brian Thompson has family. Should we be ashamed of talking about Brian Thompson because his family might be upset about it? Like, where do you draw the line about you should be ashamed of yourself for talking about him? Like, I don't know how to, but they've got me so afraid because that group came onto my page in mass and reported me in mass and got me my only flags and warning that if I keep it up, I'll get kicked off TikTok kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm not going there anymore because they've
as soon as I see those people on my videos, I block them. I look at their profiles, I block them. And so, so they've lost the privilege of now seeing my videos and how, amazing I am. But nonetheless, and that curbed down on it because I'm defeating their army. I just kept blocking them. But here's the thing. And, I'm a mother of sons who are in that age group, and no mother wishes that situation upon, another mother. But we also must realize that he is an adult, and adults are allowed to be missing. My children, my sons who are that age could go missing, and I have no recourse. And I learned that very sad reality when my children went to school, on the East Coast, and I was in a different state, and I had no access to them. Like I couldn't even look at their grades without the permission. I could pay their bill, which was incredible. I could pay their bill, but I had no access to anything. So I had to have them give me power of attorneys just to be able to look at the grades, or if something even happened to them health-wise or whatever. And so unless you have that, you have no rights over your adult child who is allowed to go missing and is allowed to leave home. So we don't know what was going on in that home environment. I'm not saying that there was anything, that was going on, but just maybe, we're looking at an athlete who perhaps, his whole life was structured by his parents down to his eating, that he wanted some freedom. And I'm speaking from the perspective of, I do have a son who was an athlete and, made Olympic trials and all that kind of stuff. And it weren't for COVID, he didn't get the chance to do that.
Were you?
Huh?
Were you the one that turned me on to the Econ 286 class at Stanford?
Yes, yes, Econ 286. And so also Brian, quote unquote, fake name, the dad, he posted on his account 289. Now you should look up what 289 means, because 289, and he posted on the day of the perp walk for Luigi on his account. 289 is also a decline code for health insurance. 289 means that you're being declined based upon services. It's like a combination of, let's say medical and dental, or that you didn't put the right provider, or it's another decline code. Let's put that way. You have to look it up. But the whole interesting thing is it was on 289, and on that day I was posting very heavily about and also posting about I forget what I named him already. Uh, David, posting
Right.
about David. And so I was posting about David, and I was also sharing publicly and sharing in my lives that I could totally relate and understand, because I was declined by my insurance, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I was declined by my insurance for anesthesia. And I was talking about how I think it's ridiculous that we have medical insurance for health, for one reason, and then we have dental, and how it's separate. Like, why do we have medical and dental separate? Why isn't it one? Why are our teeth not so important to us? And so I had to have my wisdom teeth, and I was denied for
Right.
anesthesia to have my wisdom teeth pulled when I had a known and active allergy to lidocaine. I cannot have lidocaine with epinephrine. And if you don't have epinephrine with lidocaine, lidocaine doesn't last. And so I said, well, what am I supposed to do for my pain to pull my wisdom teeth at this age? I'm needing my wisdom teeth pulled. And so my insurance said, well, try it anyways. And so I had all of my surgeons, because I had had surgeries that documented that I cannot have lidocaine, right? So all of my doctors said, no, she goes into tachycardia. She immediately blacks out. She's allergic. This is very dangerous. It could end her life, and they said, oh, well, try it anyways. Try it anyways. But anyways, on that day when I was doing that, he posts that, like, the whole purpose. And I'm thinking, he's watching my account. They're watching. Well, I know because his wife is, and I don't even think they're married anymore, but his mom is, is fully aware of my account, and she blocked me, and then she unblocked me, and then I blocked her. But nonetheless, I knew that they were watching me. And then you post the 280 code being declined from medical dental. Weird, but anyways, it's,
Yeah. What struck me, and it sucks because I feel like we're talking a little cryptically, so people in the audience may not understand what the hell we're talking about. But what really stood out to me was because I'm kind of a subscriber to the idea that there's a possible multiple accomplices. The phone call that was placed before, who's that? Who are they talking to? Whatever. But what really struck me was when I was doing that research into Econ 286 on game theory, and I was like, ChatGPT, I'm like, explain how game theory relates to economics, because it's an econ class.
right.
And the line that came out was, it had to do with the how the actions of other individuals helps relate to the success of a different individual. And I'm like, that's so interesting. It's the idea of how do other game players' actions affect the success chances of player one, for example, in my theory. So again, I'm like, holy shit, like that sounds like it's like game theory is about how can the actions of other people who are in the periphery help the success chances of the main player. And I was like, that's crazy stuff.
Right. So now you need to learn about in game theory, and keep in mind that, every time you build or create a game, there is also like game simulation, but
Right.
you need to also now learn about what assets are in games and game building and game theories, and how that affects the game, because it's the same thing, the assets and the different levels. And, you have to keep in mind that the whole idea behind the game concepts that are clues or that were left is just, it's a distraction. I mean, they were planted for you to waste your mental and visual resources and trying to figure out the clues to figure out who it is. And in essence, it was buying time for them to get away.
Right, but that's and that's again. This leads down to everybody. Not everybody. A lot of people have been giving me the Occam's razor thing. I'm sorry, but Occam's razor. Your theories about leaving clues and red herrings and little subtle things to mislead the law enforcement. That's way too complex. Nobody does that. It's Occam's razor. This guy did it. He's got some mental health issues. End of story. And I'm like, I get it, but you're saying that nobody would ever spend time to do red herrings or whatever, and I don't buy that. But the problem is that when you're trying to connect with other people and explain to them that these things may have been done to mislead law enforcement, to make them go down rabbit holes, to make them go so that the person can get away, the natural thing for most people to say is that's way too complex. You've watched too many movies. You read too many novels. It's Occam's razors, man. The guy just did it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but do you really think that law enforcement quite possibly wasn't involved?
I have to question it myself, but I think a lot of people don't want to question those kind of things because a lot of people I feel like trust law enforcement that they're the good guys in the country.
Wow. You know,
You
I
know,
have different, I mean, I support, there are good, of course, in every profession. I mean, the majority are good, but there is a percentage that are bad, and those are the ones that we have to worry about who have that type of power. But that's a whole nother story. But, I just think that, that in this story, and this is a theatrical production, in my opinion. Okay. In this story that we're watching, this game of life, basically, I do believe that there is more than one individual. And if you carefully look at the photos of the subject that's currently, being held, Luigi, you will see that there are different versions of Luigi.
yeah,
These are not the same person. These are not the same person. I
I
don't care
tend to,
what you say.
yeah, I
And if
tend
you
to agree
start,
with you.
if you start comparing features, like for example, the space between your upper lip and the bottom of your nose, that's called your philtrum. Okay. There's the Luigi we see has a different length philtrums. I mean, it's not the same person. The Luigi that we see has different ears. Look at the structure of people's ears, how
Right.
they're on your head. Your ears don't stick out one day, they're flat the next. And then just look at the internal structure of a person's ear. It changes. It's changed.
Yeah.
And so, and trust me, I have thousands, I'm not thousands, every picture I could find from him being young to whatever. I look for pictures of, his ears, of things like that to compare. There's four people, and I'm thinking, okay, this guy's got 37 cousins. How many look like him? you
Right.
know
Right.
or how many of his friends, your friends sometimes tend to look like you, like my best friend looks like my sister and we're not related, but I'm saying how many people look like him or look similar. So I mean, people compare, um the missing person that we were talking about, they compare him and say, gosh, they kind of look alike, and if you overlay their features, they do.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's multiple people involved, whether or not he actually was aware of him being involved, or whether he was, someone that was, grabbed or, obtained to place the blame on, or maybe he did know, and maybe, it was something that he said, oh, I'm bailing on this, I'm not doing this. And they're like, oh, no, no, you're not, you're in, you know what I mean? And they grabbed him or whatever, there, we could spin the whole story, thousands of different ways and still be wrong about all of them. But it wasn't just one person, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mine
And
too.
I think that anyone who thinks that it was is, is sadly mistaken. But again, my opinion. But I just think that we need to open our eyes to the fact that, I mean, there are scenarios, there are other things I think attached to this, and I'm not going down the whole rabbit hole of, oh, the political figures, because I don't really know that part. And I don't know much about, the decedent. But, my whole theory or goal of my account is just showing that based upon the information that we've been given, we cannot conclusively say, oh, it was this person or that person based upon those pictures. I mean, it's ridiculous. I couldn't even say it's the missing person, which is
Right.
why I think it's interesting that his mother gets so upset, because if I can't prove, if I'm saying it can't be proven it's Luigi, it can't be proven that it's the other person either,
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that family is just, again, they draw sympathy because people see a mother who's upset about her son, and then people just immediately fall into her camp and go, yeah, you need to knock it off. That's a mother, and they're not. It's not. I don't know. It's just it's an emotional response rather than logically saying, look, it's a question that needs to be asked, and they're like, no, that's a mother and her son. You don't screw with that. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah, but again, like you said, I mean, if that were my son, and he were really, missing and not, choosing to be not found, if that was my son, I would, under any circumstances, especially if I thought he had a mental health disorder, I would want to try to bring him home. And this is national news, that
yeah,
if law enforcement were to start looking for him, they might find him. They might find him and bring him home. But when you attempt to try to help her find him, even when I've posted like missing person, videos and so forth for him, she tries to flag them. Well, I'm posting the same thing you are. And that's why I told TikTok, I'm like, listen, I posted the same thing that his mother's account posted. So
Yeah.
how is this harassing? This is a public figure, a public missing person, and this hopefully will help bring him home. So, and she wants to control the narrative. If you see my son, only take a discreet picture and send it to me instead of calling police. What? No, call police. You
And
mean?
I tried to make the same argument, and it didn't get received well either. Which is, I honestly meant it. I wasn't trying to be facetious. I wasn't trying to be sneaky in the way I said it. I said honestly, if the family wants to find him, having more attention on him is probably going to help the family. They should want the extra attention because they haven't been able to find him for 4 years. So if they really want to find him, this might help. And it was like, no, you're an asshole. And I'm like honestly, if the goal is to find him, this might help. But anyways,
Yeah, but anyways, my point, my feeling right now is I actually think that he's hiding in plain sight, meaning that there are different things that you can do if you want to go into hiding and not be found. One of them might kind of grow your hair, let your beard grow your, kind of like how he looks, right? We don't know because there are masks on everybody what the people really look like. But if you make yourself look kind of disheveled, I would become a John Doe and check myself into if you check yourself into a mental health facility, you have a 3-day hold, right? And then you can choose to stay or not stay. I'd become John Doe and I'd be hiding away in some mental health facility of which I could check myself out.
While I have you on the microphone here, I just wanted to, thank you, by the way, for all of the help and the private discussions and stuff that you've helped me with.
Oh, no worries.
And I don't want you to feel discouraged that I can't keep up yet, because I've really, really appreciated it. Also, the last question I want to ask you is, have you figured out where you're going if TikTok goes away? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm going to start a Substack. So, and for everybody, like, people like you, I have that Discord. I'm going to send a link that we can all kind of congregate there so that we can all figure out where everybody went to, And so, you're welcome to, to invite other people to that you think, that we all want to stay in touch with. But I personally don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think there might be a little wobble. I think that, you have to remember, even if they pull out of the United States on the 19th, the app still remains on our phones. And it won't go away until there's an update, which would, conceivably take about 6 months. Just don't update your app, right?
Have you heard me talk about the Google Play Protect, though?
What's that? What is it?
Google Play Protect is on by default on Android phones. And what it does is, if Google determines that an app is unsafe, they can uninstall it from your phone under Google Play Protect. You actually have to turn off Google Play Protect, because if they want to, it's designed for them to remove apps that are already installed on your phone that they now have deemed to be unsafe. So everybody keeps saying they're not going to uninstall it from your phone, but Play Protect literally does that very thing. It says, if we find something is unsafe for you, we will automatically uninstall it for you through Google Play Protect. And you have to turn that service off, or they can pull the app.
I have that turned off because I have another app that I don't know, that was pulled from the market, and I love it. It's called Micro Mechanic, and it's like, I think the automobile industry became upset because people had this little device that you could plug into your car, and it would read all the codes, just like other, like, the dealer charges you like, $200, $300, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I had this little tiny thing that I bought for $19. It's crazy because it's still sold on like Amazon, wherever. It's called Micro Mechanic. But they tried to uninstall it from my phone. Well, I had 2 phones, right? So fortunately, I was able to port it over from one phone to the other, and I turned it off so they can't uninstall it. And I, to this day, have been using that app for years, even though it's been pulled from the market, and I love it. So
there's 2 things I want to say about that I want to clarify. This is why I say it's not necessarily true that Google can't pull your app from your phone. Because again, Google Play Protect is on by default, and it allows them to do that very thing. So that's why I say, one, I want to be careful telling everybody, not you, that you rhetorically, just rhetorically, people who are saying they can't just uninstall it, they can. unless you turn that off, which was one of the videos that I made, which is that they literally are going to force Americans to start crippling the security features on their phone to keep TikTok. Because if I want to make sure they can't uninstall it, I got to turn off Play Protect. And like you have done it already because you had an app you liked. When you turn it off, it turns it off for everything. So everything that they have found to be unsafe, you are now allowing on your phone because you want it for exception for one app. And so you have, in essence, and I'm not blaming you. I've done it too. But you have, in essence, made your phone less secure because you turned off a security feature that says, now if you find dangerous apps, don't do anything to it. Leave it on my phone. I'm okay having dangerous apps. And in fact, I have an app for a gimbal for my phone that they no longer have available in Google Play Store. And so I have to sideload apps. Again, something that is crippling the security features built into my phone by allowing third-party apps to install things on my phone, which makes me less secure. But that's the only way to get my gimbal to work. So I guess where I'm going with all that is, one, we need to be careful that it's not necessarily true that they couldn't uninstall the app. And two, in order to avoid it, they're going to make Americans less secure, which defeats the whole purpose of they're trying to make us more secure. If we have to cripple our phone's security in order to use the app, then they've accomplished nothing. They've actually gone backwards.
Right. Well, let's agree though, or maybe not, but I'm just going to throw a thought out here, that, well, for one, as you know, our information has been hijacked, stolen or given away, whatever, by how often do you get a letter in the mail that's saying your information has been, taken from our servers and blah, 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 blah. And, most of the companies that I get those are from my health insurance,
Right.
my car dealership, all these things. So they already have our information. On TikTok, we are willingly giving them our information. And what do they have? Where I'm at, what I'm talking about, what I'm complaining about, And so, but I also think that one of the things that's going on with all of this, and, if you watch the stock market, since they have announced that TikTok is going to be banned, stock in certain companies that I won't say has been rising. So in early December, it was about $500 a share. Today, I think it's at like $650 a share. So this stock is climbing as we reach the 19th, right? And so, I think that if I were one to had played the stock market, I had lots of money, I would have bought lots of stock when when it was low. So when Meta was low, and now it's climbing, right? And I think that they're probably also anticipating the fact that we are going to react and do something and make that stock plummet again, right?
Right.
So if I had stock in that particular company, I would be selling it on the 19th at that high mark, right? And then all of us are going to boycott Meta or whoever on the 19th, uninstall it from our phone. The stock will react and crash. And guess what? I sold on the 17th. So when it crashes like that on the 20th, I'm going to buy some more. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's being controlled and manipulated, and it's making money. I personally don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think that, we are going to have a new, president on the 20th who does have control over what their future is. Whether or not they ban it on the 19th, he can still override that. He can change that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what he can and can't do, other than I can say this: just because the law goes into effect doesn't mean that we have to enforce the law. There's laws that are on the books that we don't enforce, right? So it could go into effect and just no authority be given to enforce the law. So who knows what's going to happen? There's lots of tricks that can be played.
Well, just like the Gulf of Mexico is now going to be called the Gulf of Americas. And why? So we can drill, baby, drill. That's... You know what I'm saying? It's like, and quite frankly, people are so off-put about the Gulf of Mexico. I personally do like the name Gulf of Mexico. I think it sounds nice and tropical. But, if we really want to get analytical about the name, Gulf of America, or Gulf of the Americas maybe is more appropriate. That really is what it is, because we are North and South America. Right. So it is the Gulf of the America. So, right. So maybe there's going to be a renaming, a restructuring of that company, that now it's named this. It's no longer that, but it's the same board members, same owners, because the ban is on ByteDance. So now ByteDance becomes, Romance, whatever. They change their company and sell it to themselves. Right. They were smart. They'd go get a Delaware corporation and stick it in that so nobody knows who owns it.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
there's a lot that can happen, and I do feel optimistic that in the end it's not going to go away. But you have to, I feel like I'm trying to prepare myself for it will go away, and then what? And I think there's going to be a lot of irate people in this country if
I
they if
think there would be some protest. I think there would be, I mean, I think that there's going to be a reaction that was not going to be pleasant because you have to remember that just like how people want to send, the migrants back and, how that would crash our economy because those people do work, they are paying into our tax system. There are people who've been here for years that are quote unquote, illegal, but they own homes, they pay taxes. So doing all of that would crash our economy just as stopping TikTok where people are making, money. I mean, there's so many people who supplement their income. They hold a, a 9 to 5 job, but they come home, they post a couple of videos and those videos, make them, maybe $2,000 a month, which makes a difference in their lives,
right,
And so plus, the people who are making tons of money, but, taking all of that money that TikTok puts into our economy in the United States is, would crash it as well. It would make a huge
yeah,
difference in everything. So, that I think that they will realize, that as well. I mean, you can't take the bread, this is how people eat. You can't take the bread away from people, and not expect them to react when you say, okay, now starve, you know?
right, right.
So,
No, it's
yeah.
going to
So
be,
I don't know.
yeah, it's going to be a
Yeah.
huge
What do
deal.
you think about the fires in California?
I haven't. It's a huge story, and I haven't dived into it because I've been so obsessively following this kind of thing. So I don't have any thoughts per se on it. I'd like to hear what your take is and tell you whether or not anything rings too true to me. But I haven't
Okay.
been. Yeah.
I'll give the short
Sure.
version because I feel like I'm taking over your live with my monologues here. But
Or-
okay, so we had what's going on with Ukraine, and I don't know if people realize all the money we're giving to Ukraine, right? Part of Ukraine's agreement for receiving that money was they had to sell some of their assets, right? As sort of a reform and payment. So those assets in Ukraine was land. That land was sold to Monsanto. Okay, so then Ukraine needs to be built. Guess who got the contract to rebuild Ukraine? BlackRock. Guess who owns Monsanto? BlackRock. Okay, so it's a cycling of money. So the United States is giving money to an American company to rebuild, so it's coming back to the United States. It's a cycling of money. Okay, so now we're looking at California. So think of that story. We're looking at California. Biden announces that he's going to give money for what was it, 6 months to 100% rebuild those homes of millionaires. Okay,
yes.
who so again it's just cycling of money. Who's going to rebuild those homes? So American contractors. So the cost of goods in the United States for rebuilding homes is now three times higher than what it used to be. How do I know that? Because I'm building a home. Okay, so I mean I started it pre-COVID and still going on. The cost of goods is 3 times higher than it was in 2019. Okay,
Yeah.
so all that money that the United States will be giving to rebuild this area is going to be a cycling of money. But what they also, I think they want to rebuild is density. They want to build up. So, and if you look at their plans, you're all these, cities that are more, blue cities that includes, Los Angeles, Chicago, dense cities. They're wanting to have dense housing that goes vertical for more people, and, controlled, as far as rent, price, all that kind of stuff. And so I guarantee you that when it comes to rebuilding, we're going to find that it's going to be a land grab to be building some more dense population in those areas and vertical. But it's just all of that is it's just cycling of money from government to whoever to economy to whatever. And it's like if we can't have I even hate to
This
say the
this
word, but
sounds
if we
this
can't have
sounds like the Hawaii fire thing and all the allegations of the people who wanted that land, and all of a sudden it catches fire and they get to rebuild it and get all the property. And I mean, you're suggesting that people would actually risk lives and property of human beings to make money. I can't even believe that you're suggesting such a thing. The people don't do shit for money. I'm being kidding.
never, never,
Yeah,
never,
it's horrendous that I absolutely can see that. I absolutely can see that.
But it's just, you have to, and people think, oh God, that could never happen. That's so outlandish, Okay, so maybe it's a stretch, but you have to think that when people come up with these ideas or thought that there is some degree or percentage of truth to that.
Hmm.
Okay. And so, um, you know, like I said, it's just a theory and opinion, but I just think that it's all just, it's manufactured. Just as I think that this whole thing is manufactured with Luigi. I think it's a theatrical performance, and I don't know what the end game of it is yet. It's hard to fathom that so many people could actually be involved, because
Yeah.
that would have to include his lawyer too, don't you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure. I suspect his lawyer knows something we don't know, which is part of the reason why she took the case. Of course, somebody has to take the case, but um, yeah, I got a million thoughts, and here's why I'm hesitant. I'm totally with you. I believe in following the money. I believe a lot of shit's done purposely to make billionaires even bigger billionaires, and take money away from the little guys and give it to the right guys, and reward each other with big contracts, and blow up part of Afghanistan, which happens to be right where you watch a pipeline be built, and then you help pay American companies to rebuild a pipeline through the middle of their country. All that shit happens all the time. But the problem is that the more times you point it out, the more people think you're just a nut. You think everything's a conspiracy. And I'm like, everything almost is a
Absolutely.
conspiracy. It's horrendous.
I'll proudly wear my tinfoil hat. But listen, I mean, like I said, my account is not. I don't dive into those deep those that black hole of that whole thing, just because it's so much work for one. Okay,
Yes.
to start looking into all those different theories and whatnot, and and we'll always no one will ever agree upon that, and so I mean, it's interesting to talk about it and to observe it, but the whole purpose of my account, everybody's account on this app has a purpose and a focus. Mine is different from yours. Yours is different from another creator, and so I think it's really interesting, that there's creators, having arguments and disagreements and fighting and wanting to financially hurt each other right now over things on TikTok. I'm sure you know which creators I'm talking about, and I don't want to be dropping names, but here's the thing, I think that I have my focus, which is just proving misidentity, that we can't tell who it is. I am happy playing in my own sandbox. I may visit yours once in a while, and I appreciate, what you say, and I take information you go into, but end of the day, I go back to my little sandbox and play by myself. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I post what I do, and I don't really, there'll be days where I don't pay attention to anything that anybody else says. But here's the thing, TikTok is a whole big, world out there, and there is enough room for all of us,
Right.
okay,
Right.
to say what we want to say and focus on what we want to focus on, that we don't need to attack each other. And you have to remember that when there is divisive behavior, and they are dividing us now with creator. So if you like him, then I'm not going to follow you or block that or whatever. That is what they want, people. I don't care if these creators are fighting. You still go to their pages. You still appreciate what they say. You have your own discernment. Take it with a grain of salt. Take the information that applies to you and have a good day. You don't need to pick sides. We don't know anybody. We, like all of us, we don't really know each other. Appreciate the effort of the creator. And as I said to you too, I don't have a problem with a creator making money off of their efforts. I mean, like you, for example, I said to you, you know what? If you were to say, hey, I want to make money off this, I would say, God bless you. How can I help you? Because you put out good quality, you take time away from your job to create this quality content that I am that I'm benefiting from, right? Why shouldn't you be paid for your efforts? If I can throw you roses or galaxies during your thing, by the way, anyone watching, if you want to throw our creator, our lovely creator, some roses or gifts, I mean, that is money that does go, to him for his efforts of doing this. And so, during my lives, every gift that I get, I mean, I give away to somebody else, because I don't really need it. Thank, goodness, I'm blessed to be able to, have, a secure situation in my life. But I'm just saying that, there's nothing wrong with being paid for your efforts as long as you're honest about it and you say, hey, I do put a lot of time in here. I do take time away from my other life and job to do this. And if you could be so kind to, help me achieve my goal, like I noticed you don't have a goal here for your life, but if you could help me achieve my goal, that would be great. And people willingly do that when you're honest and you just put it that way. So
So
I don't know why the people are having a fit over that, but go ahead.
yeah, that's a quandary for me because I'm in a position. So I don't like asking for money at all, and I don't like to pander for money. I don't want to have to create a videos because I think it might get me more money. I don't want to ever do something for money. But by the same token, like you said, when I retire, it would be nice to pick up some residual income to help supplement my retirement fund, right? And so I have to strike that balance because anytime I even suggest that I want money, people are like, oh, I see. So you're just saying shit for the money. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be like, I don't even want to mention money because I don't want people thinking that I'm motivated to say the shit I'm saying because it might make me money. Because like you said,
Well,
I'm trying to be
okay,
honest
so
and share my opinions.
right, but I think that people can see through that. There are people who you can see are riding the coattails of this to make money. You can tell by the quality of their videos. You can tell by, a lot of their videos lead with, shock and awe and clickbait, or whatever. And so, or they create an environment of excitement. Gotta do this now. And I need, and so you can tell the difference between someone who is trying to be like authentic and investigative. And, like you don't get that from any of your videos. You know what I'm saying? Yours, I don't. But there's other people who I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? And they're just doing it for, to increase their followers and whatnot. So you can tell the
Yeah.
character of people by listening to them. And so I've never gotten that from you, but I do believe and I do understand me because I create a lot of content and I know how long it takes to do this research and whatnot. And it does take away from other things. I mean, I laugh because I actually have to, do some client billing tonight because, at the end of the day, I need to bill my clients, right? And
Right.
so, because I'm wasting my time on this app. And so, so there's nothing wrong with wanting to do that. Or not wanting to do things, but there's nothing wrong with people, giving because they want to. I mean, in these lives, people throw hearts because they want to, and they
Right.
appreciate you. And that's just a way of saying thank you. But like I said, I don't think that there are millions of people on here, who are affiliates who are here just to make money. You know what I'm saying? So we have to survive in some way. But I just want to say that I really do appreciate the content you put out because I do think that you are a creator who does really research, your topics and you give a lot of thought to it. And I think that, it's unfortunate that TikTok, who we love, we should love you too. And you know what I
Right.
mean? Because
Right.
you do put out stuff that is of good content that people want to watch and can trust. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And
Oh, hey, Wolf.
I
He joined. Uh-huh.
I appreciate that, and I want to also appreciate everybody in the comments that are agreeing with your sentiments that I'm coming off authentic because I am genuinely passionate about the topic, and I genuinely believe in having differences of opinions. I don't mind when people come on, like I've had people on my show that don't think the same way that I do, that think that, for example, Luigi has a mental health issue or whatever, and I don't think that, but I don't have a problem giving them space to have that conversation because I think we should be able to have that conversation. And I think people can be enriched by listening to us give our back and forth on it, right? We don't have to agree on everything. In fact, some of the best discussions, some of the best learning time is when people have different opinions and can respect each other and have a respectful dialogue. And that's what I try to do. So I appreciate everyone who understands I'm not trying to do this for the money, that I'm trying to just share thoughts and opinions and have a good conversation. And I hope to grow the channel. I hope we can stay on on the TikTok to do it. But I hope you and I honestly stay in contact. I really love your interaction that you and I have had and the private interactions we've had. And so I'm glad you came on the show. It was almost by accident. I think I was scrolling and accidentally invited you up to the thing. But I'm
Oh well,
glad.
thank you for that happy accident. And
Yeah,
we're connected on Discord, so we'll stay in touch. But like I said, I think if it goes anywhere, it'll be a momentary blip. And
yeah,
I'm happy to. I mean, anyone who's in here, I mean, I'm happy to just create a Discord where we can all land just in the interim, just in case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But where are you planning to go? What's your backup?
Right now, our primary focus has been YouTube Shorts and long form video. I think my voice is a little bit more long form. I'm a talker, right? So and I have a hard time trying to say something succinctly in 60 seconds. So while I love TikTok and I love the short form style, it feels like YouTube is going to be a natural home for us. But as my friend who's in marketing, who's my partner in Devil's Advocate, he says we have to diversify across a whole bunch of different platforms. So we're going to go everywhere we can and find out where we resonate, what audience we resonate with.
So Substack is good. I mean, Substack's good. And then you can get Substack too, can be a choice of, you have a platform where people can, if they want to watch it, where it's not paid, and they can also subscribe if they think you're awesome and subscribe. I mean, there are so many different things on the internet. For example, like Wikipedia, that you can access that information for free, but every time I go there, they ask me to donate, $2.99 a month or something like that. And so, and for the longest time, I did donate to them without question, because I use Wikipedia all the time. Their donation, which was only $2.99 a month, and so. But they made me mad the other day, so I unsubscribed. And I forget. I don't remember why, but I told them why they made me mad. So.
Well, I will definitely I'm going to definitely look into Substack, and Clapper. Somebody recommended tonight too. When I first saw that TikTok was allowing me to have subscriptions, and they recommended like a $2.99 entry level subscription thing, I thought, oh, well, that'd be cool. Like if I could even get 1% of the people who are following me to have a subscription for premium content where I go long form, then I could make a little side money and be able to afford to do this. And nobody's interested. In fact, the one time I mentioned it, someone was kind of like, oh, of course you want us to sign up for money. And I'm like, see, we're on a platform where people don't want to have to pay. They just want free. And I get it. I get it. I think information should be free. I think people should share ideas for free. This is like a coffee table for me. But by the same token, it would be nice to be able to have a little bit of like backup, so I can do this full time and I don't have to worry about it. I'm not asking people to support me, replacing the job that I've got kind of thing. But it would be nice to be able to have a little bit of like safety net coming in somewhere, but I don't know how to do that without looking like a mess.
Well, I have a friend who runs a small neighborhood newspaper, and it's kind of like a legacy for his family because it was his father before him and so forth. And, as print newspaper is dying. And so he's on Facebook, and I helped him, grow his platform to 10,000 followers so that he could monetize and whatnot. And so, but same thing, he's like, yeah, but I think that information should be free. I'm like, yes, but you also have to pay your bills as a a newspaper and pay your employees. I said, but I agree with you, print is dead. You have to deliver it, whatever, everyone's green. And so I helped him set up his website and his Facebook and everything so that if he has a video, there's a little ad on the bottom that is that relates to our community that people can click. That he has, he does have some subscriptions that are exclusive, but if people give him that, $2.99 or whatever his subscription is a month, behind that paywall is exclusive coupons to things in our neighborhood, like get this free appetizer, whatever. So it pays back if you just use one of the coupons, right? Especially if you're a person who eats out. And on his website, he does, like the Google ads. So there is some Google stuff running on the side and all of that stuff. He was like, oh, it'll never make any money. And he totally was negative about it. And so I said, just humor me. Let me do it. Let me set you up. I'm not going to charge you. I'm doing this as a friend. I don't charge anybody. I help everybody in my community. I'm like, it's because I like to do this stuff. And so I set it up for him. And in the first month, he made $5,000.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Which is more than, which is basically his payroll. You know what I mean? And so and so, I'm just saying, but you just, there's other things you can do besides, hey, subscribe to me. You know what I mean? There's other ways that you can do that would help, supplement your income. And so
that was part of the reason why I thought YouTube was the place to go, because if you get enough viewers on YouTube and enough watch hours, right, then they start throwing ads in there for you, and then you get a percentage of the ads. And I hear it's pretty good for people that have a following. I don't know if we'll ever have a following that'll make anything off of it, but again, all of this makes me uncomfortable because I hate talking about doing it for the purpose of making money. but you know what I'm saying.
So,
So
but you guys, we have to pay our bills, and so there's nothing wrong with making money. Understand that. Understand we have to eat. And another little funny story that like I said, I mean, people are asking what I do, and I really don't want to tell anybody what I do, but I do like to learn and I do like to research, and I it's I mean, I've shared with some people like kind of the background of my sons and my family and family history, but but I have a friend, so I'm going to tell you the story. So I'm always researching. I do know a lot of people that are politicians. I have run work on political campaigns. I do know a lot about law. I mean, very diverse, and I love information. There's nothing that I don't read. So my friend, though, she owns land. She owns 20 acres of land, and her hobby is horses, and she has a indoor riding arena and whatnot. And she used to be married to a man who made a lot of money, but she's now divorced, and so she has the house and the land and whatnot. And so she was looking to rent her land, okay, and she's to make money to supplement her income. And so she was going to rent it to someone to grow hay or wheat or soybean or something like that. And I said, oh, yeah, but then you have to worry about the chemicals, and you live there and your animals. And so if they have a crop, what are they spraying it with? Are they spraying it with, GMO stuff or whatever, the insecticides, Monsanto, all that kind of stuff we hear about. So I said to her, listen, trust me on this. This is my best friend. I'm going to apply for permits to grow wheat. And she's like, but I want to grow wheat. I said, don't worry about it. I'm going to pay for everything. I'm going to apply for the permits to grow wheat. You're not going to grow wheat. Okay. I said, because what's going to happen is when I apply for those permits to grow wheat, there are grants that will pay you not to grow wheat. And she's like, what? I go, yes, there are grants out there that will pay you not to grow wheat. You want to know why? Because GMO wheat has just been approved in the United States, and they do not want you competing or putting your toe in their income generator, right? And so I actually got her approved, and she's receiving grants now to not grow wheat on her 20 acres of land and to just leave it alone. And she's going to be planting wildflowers and butterflies and riding her horses. And she's getting grants not to grow anything on her 20 acres.
We live in such a crazy society, right?
Isn't that insane? Like,
I've heard it before too. Yeah.
And it pays for her whole thing in her expensive hobby that she cannot afford. My friend only makes, I mean, it's ridiculous. She's this job. She's only making like $500 a week. I'm like, who can make 500? I mean, what? You need a better job, first of all. But, but she's just not motivated. And, and she's, at this point in her life, it is what it is. And I love her to pieces. So I'm like, I'm going to find a way that then pays you, period. And so I did. So it's funny. So she's got starting this year, she's just been approved for her grants, and she is, she could quit working now if she wants to. That's so awesome. So I'm just saying, think outside the box. Always research whatever you want to do with the word grant. If you want to open a business in a small town, some towns have what's called small business financing increments. Like if you live in an area that doesn't have a lot of business development, like there are grants in every city that will pay you to open a business or start a business or build a business or any of those things. You just need to look for it, So there are so many ways, that she, the people in general can find to make money. So. I mean, if anybody ever is looking for an idea, my DM is open as long as, TikTok is up. If you're like, hey, what do you think of this? I'm trying to do this. I mean, feel free to drop me a message. I'll tell you if I know anything about it or if I have any ideas. I mean, I'm always happy to help, That's in awesome. Research. Yeah. So, But anyways, I mean, we're all here for each other, right? We're here to lift each other up, not pull each other down. Going back to the full circle of everybody attacking each other. We are here to lift each other up, not pull each other down. And we have to stick together. And, I don't care if you don't like one, creator saying about another or whatever. The point is everyone has a message and we need to get that message out. And the only way we can is if we keep visiting each other's pages in a positive way. So.
Absolutely. And I think with that, by the way, I think it's a good time to wrap up. I did tell my wife I was going to be on for about an hour, and so I want to respect that. And you just made a great summary of the close of the thing. Let's help each other out. Let's not be divisive. Let's not be negative. Let's try to support each other. the likes, the loves, the shares, help each other out when you can financially. All those things are great. Information sharing, all these things are fantastic. And I want to thank you so much for coming on again to my show and enriching that, and for the private messages that you've shared with me, and the conversation that we have ongoing in Discord. It's been a real pleasure talking to you tonight.
You're welcome. And I have to tell everyone in the audience, who's watching, I am reading your comments and I'm just giggling like you're talking you're talking about me. She won't tell. How old is she? Probably in her 50s. I'm like, I love you guys.
And
keep asking questions. Keep asking questions. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.